There we go. I don't know if anybody heard that. It's it's a new one on me. Cool. So thank you all for coming along this evening, checking out this live video. It does mean a lot to me for you to take the time. I don't think you need to see my little picture up there. Let's see if I can get rid of that. There we go. Cool. So it does mean a lot to me for everybody to come along and just experience. I love prep. I love not just the physiques that it brings, but the psychology behind everything as well. And there's a lot that goes into it. Where's my chat? There you go. So for those, why can I not see that? Sorry, I'm just playing around with our group chat window. So if you do have any questions at all, please feel free to throw them up in the group chat, or if you're watching this live on Facebook, please ask any questions. Let's get super personal with it. A little bit about me for those who don't know who we are. My name is Jason, as you can see down on the screen here. I am the director at ProFit Health and Fitness. Been in the industry now a little over 17 years in one way, shape or form. And yeah, dealt with everything, overweight to underweight, you name it. We dealt with a lot of things, not just clientele, but myself as well. And you'll see some of the photos that I'm going to share just to see how much I've actually gone through for this for my prep. But tonight isn't about me. Tonight is about you guys. And if you're watching this, there's something in your mind just to say that, yeah, I'm interested, whether it's prep or maybe just getting leaner. We run a very similar training structure to our regular coaching guys than we do with our prep. Obviously, the prep athletes tend to take it quite a bit more seriously than Obus Jones down the street, who just wants to lose weight and keep mobile. The prep athletes, and you can't actually see it in that photo I've got up there. There's some guys there that I would say 60 plus, 65, 70 years old. So it's not just a young person's sport. I don't care if you're getting on a bit or I shouldn't say getting on a bit, but if you are getting up there, 70, 80 years old, by all means, you get into it now. It really is an amazing experience. So tonight, like I said, if you've got any questions, please feel free to sing out. I'm going to try and open up Facebook. Oh, I'm talking. I don't want that. Please feel free to sing out. There we go. So I've got that playing in the background. Hopefully I can get to those comments as well. I'm just on the laptop tonight. I don't actually have my second screen set up, as it's too bloody cold in the studio for anything like that. But cool. So I really wanted to cover off on a few things that you may not necessarily think about when competing. As even to the degree of tanning, posing, all that sort of stuff. I'll get to all this as we go through. Hang on. Where are we? Let's try that. So what we're going to cover. Okay, so the different federations, divisions, what are they, how they work, etc., etc. Like we said before, posing and the stage walk, particularly for women, the stage walk is quite full on. Not full on. It's there. It's something to think about. Obviously, getting stage ready, the cutting phase, stripping down the body fat, etc., etc. What we call peak week. If you've never competed before, peak week is the week prior to show, the 7 days leading up to show. that's where everything changes. It's not just a matter of sitting in deficits anymore. That's the fun week. That's the exciting one. Obviously, we'll cover show day and what happens after the show as well with your reverse dieting. So a lot of people don't necessarily think about what comes after the show. They just go out for dinner and that's that. But look, my advice to you, I'm going to start off with my advice. If you even have the slightest inclination, is that the word I want? If there's some sort of thought there that you want to compete or that you want to try your hand at it, don't make the same mistake I did and leave it 10 years. So 10 years later, I got up on stage, all right? And it was probably the greatest sporting achievement of my life. It really was an amazing experience. I recommend it to everybody. Even if you don't want to get on stage, I've actually had this conversation quite regularly with a lot of our team. Even if you don't want to get on stage, go through the prep stage, the prep phases. At least you'll have a much better respect for your nutrition and the way carbohydrates, proteins, fats, the way they all work in the body and the response that they have. So that's just a little bit of my before and afters there. That's actually not how we walked out on stage. That was still, I think that was about 2 or 3 weeks out. That was a dummy carb load. So honestly, looking the best I've ever looked. Yeah, and to get on stage was even better, even leaner. Yeah, really, really awesome experience. Go and do it. It's not for the faint-hearted, as you'll see later on in this in the presentation. It is quite full on, but I don't want to deter anybody from that. It is an amazing experience. You'll get to meet some amazing people, and honestly, I can't recommend it enough. But look, let's move on. Federations and divisions. I'm sure there's a lot of confusion about this. I know when I did my first comp, I wasn't quite sure where to go. Get yourself a coach, someone who knows what they're talking about. This video wasn't meant to be drumming up business, but hey, we are going to be taking a team through next year. There's the plug for the business right there. But no, look, get yourself a coach, someone who's been there before, knows the experience, knows the routines. They can really help you along the way. They're going to be your #1 support. Okay. But as for federations and divisions, let's start with federations. They're two different things. There's your federation, and then there's the divisions within the federation. So as we can see, let's say in that picture there, ICN, I Compete Natural. Amazing show. The Brisbane Classic is absolutely awesome. Run really well, and Jace, the MC, and the CEO actually, is done an amazing job. Again, if you're going to compete naturally, ICN is definitely one to check out. There's a couple of other federations out there, INBA, New Kids on the Block, NBA. They're always fun. We'll be doing NBA and ICN this year as well. But federations, sorry, that's federations. If we look at divisions, it's like, if we think, how can I explain this? If you think your federation as, I'm going to use motorsport because that's just what I know. If you look at, say, the V8 supercars, sorry for anybody who doesn't know motorsport, that's the first thing that came to my mind. Let's the V8 supercars as the V8s, the federation. And within that federation, there's different divisions. There's the Porsche Carrera Cup and all that sort of stuff. I know it's a terrible, terrible analogy, but like I said, it's the first thing. So we've got within each federation, ladies, you'll have bikini, physique, bodybuilding, depending on the federation, maybe swimsuit, evening gowns, sportswear, so on and so forth. Guys, same deal. You'll have physique, you'll have bodybuilding, you'll have sports fitness model. They're just different classes. So how you determine which one's right for you really depends on body shape more than anything. So generally, the leaner you are, we'd probably push more towards either physique or bodybuilding. If you have more muscle mass, and guys, particularly if you have some decent leg size, that's when we start to push for the bodybuilding. The bodybuilding is basically the top end, the leanest, the most muscle. They are the hardcore guys and girls. Again, depending on the federation, determines, you know, whether or not you're competing with natural athletes or enhanced athletes. Personally, if this was your first comp, stick to the natural stuff. You do have to be natural for, I think it's 5 years, don't quote me on that, 5 years off any sort of enhancements, and just to qualify. But look, let's talk different posing requirements. There are different posing requirements for each division. So I'm not going to get through all of them tonight, but just keep that in mind depending on which division you choose. You know, there's always the same sort of symmetry round versus pose downs and all the fun stuff there. I'll get to that a little later on. But there are drug testing. Obviously, if you're going through a natural competition, there's a fair chance you may get drug tested, particularly if you take out one of the major prizes. This includes some supplements, particularly pre-workouts, may give you a red flag there. So keep that in mind when you come onto stage. Generally come off the pre-workouts and all supplements, protein excluded, probably about a week or so prior, maybe 2 weeks prior to show day. Now this is what we call our stage walk. I pulled this from NPC and IFBB, again, different federations. Generally the IFBBs are the enhanced guys. As you can see up top here, bikini, figure, wellness, and men's physique, they all have that same run through. Most federations will actually have these. It's basically just masking tape on the floor where you can come up, and you know, it's all lit up. You've got amazing lighting. The judges and the MCs are very, very accommodating, particularly to the first timers and the novices. They really are a cool bunch of men and women that run it. So as we can see, usually enter on offside. Depending on where you are, you go through the center, pose, come down to the front, pose, and then again, usually there's a line at the front. You do your actual routines along with everybody else, and then you step back onto your lineup and then off once everything's done and dusted. But again, depending on the federation, that will differ a little bit. So again, like I said, everybody backstage is amazing. All the staff, they put on a great show. All you have to do is ask. They're an awesome bunch of men and women that run it. And yeah, moving on, posing. So we touched on this a little bit earlier. There's a few essential poses that we have to do, particularly the symmetry posing. That's basically making sure everything is even, left to right, front and back. Symmetry is, as you can see, this guy here isn't symmetry. All these poses here are not symmetry poses. They're actual posing, flexing posing, which is all of this. As for the poses, there are, like we said, some essentials that we do. There are front. I'm going to run through the men's bodybuilding because that's where I competed. Sorry, I'm just looking at some of the Facebook notifications coming through. As for posing, yes. So you'll have your front double bi, your front lat spread, and then you've got your side poses, dominant side. You'll have a side chest, side tricep. You've got your rears, rear double bi, rear lat spread, and then you'll come back around to the front for abs and thighs, which is this one here. You'll also have what's called most muscular, which is basically your favorite pose. You know that that pose you'd watch if you're playing with your kids and you know down on the floor wrestling around and you grrr, that's practically a most muscular pose. It's basically your favorite, something that's going to really make these traps pop out as well as the shoulders and really complement the legs as well, keeping things nice and even. Depending on which federation you are, they might be a pose down. Pose downs are so much fun, where everybody just gets up on stage, they crank up the music, and it's basically 30 seconds, flex on, really impress the judges, get the crowd hyped. By all means, that was personally my favorite part of the comp was that pose downs and just getting to interact a little more with the other athletes and having a bit of fun. The other one I want to touch on here is your transitions. So again, just coming back to things you may not necessarily think about, and instead of going from one pose to the other, that's your transition. If you feel confident in your transitions, the judges will automatically look at you, and that's what it is. It's a show. You know, the best advice that I ever found was, you know, you go to a bodybuilding show to see a show, but if you're an athlete, you are the show. So get confident, just practice, practice, practice. If you do go down the competition track, it's going to be in your task list every single day, posing, tick it off, at least 10 minutes every day. And it's hard work. You know, I think my heart rate peaks at around, again, personally, peaks at around 160, maybe 165 to run through a full posing session. It's full on. So don't think it's just to get up there, flex a bicep and be done with it. There's a lot more that goes into it. It's how you get the best out of each muscle group, and so on and so forth. How you can get, you know, the quads to fire as well as the hip flexors. How do you get the hammies and glutes to work together? How do you get those spine erectae, that Christmas tree in the back? How do you get them on? There's so much more. And again, you'll work with your coach. If your coach doesn't feel confident with that, maybe have a look at a specific posing coach. There's plenty of those out there as well. Again, even if you're not getting on stage, run through it. Just a more respect for the sport. Moving on again, the prep phase, cutting the body fat. Look, this is easy. I shouldn't say easy. It's simple. Depending on how much body fat you've got to lose, we generally run with a 20-week prep, if not more. I was chatting to, coincidence would have it, I was chatting to a bikini model today who ran through, I think she said it was about a 36-week prep. She just wanted to get in and get lean, and hey, fair enough. So obviously we want to try and get you as lean as possible. How do we do that? Your training. You cannot skip training sessions. You cannot shuffle training sessions around. You must hit that. There will be RPE or RIR included in your session. There will be tempo. There will be every little thing ironed out. There will be muscle specific movements to get the best out of you. If I look at you and say, okay, we need to work on shoulders, for example, there will be a lot of shoulder movements. Okay, you've got an amazing back. Okay, let's bring up, how do we complement that? Let's bring up the arms, let's bring up the legs. So it's just about fine tuning those weaker points. No weak points, just some of the stuff that may not necessarily be as prominent. Meals are a big one. Your nutrition, 100%. There's none of this, I'm going to go out and get a steak. You cook every meal Actually, I'll tell fibs. You should cook every meal. Everything will be taken to the gram, not just a single type of protein. You'll have to look at poultry, bovine, protein powders. There's, it's getting that whole different array of micronutrients into the body. And that's just protein. Let's not even get started on carbohydrates. Again, I'm not saying these things to try and deter you. I'm just giving you my experience and hopefully covering off on some things that you may not have thought about. The psychology, this is a big one. First prep, you will struggle. I'm not going to lie to you. It is very, very tough. It's very grueling. So it's the way I describe it to my team is, when you get sick and you've got the flu and the muscles just hurt, every single step hurts. It's exactly the same exactly the same feeling, but without the pain. It's a physical struggle to simply take a step, the deeper and deeper into the prep that you go. Recovery. Recovery is another big important one. You want to be an athlete, you need to recover like an athlete. This is being drummed into me as we speak. I'm personally competing again this year. I know my recovery isn't as good as it should, but we're looking into massages, physio. I should probably look into chiro as well. Again, you want to be an athlete, you need to recover like an athlete. Support. Now, support is going to come a lot from your coach. If your coach can't give you the support, you need to find yourself a new coach. This is a very selfish sport. And it is, it's a sport. There's no more going out in the town. There's no more date nights. Well, you can still have a date night, but that you can't go to a restaurant. You can't do, you just can't be social. It's, like I said, it's a very selfish sport. So when that support doesn't arrive, whether that's from your partner or from your friends or from your training buddies or whoever it is that's going to give you or that you expect support from, do not expect support. You need to do this for yourself and yourself alone. If you can't support you, don't expect anybody else to. And really be specific with the type of support that you're after as well. Like, I'll give you an example. My partner and I'm going through comp. She's flat out told me that she can't give me the support that I need, which is fine. I'm not doing this for her. I'm doing this for me. It doesn't take away from the relationship at all. It just means that I know where we stand, as does she. Moving on, that got a little bit deep. Getting stage ready. You should be stage ready about 4 weeks out. Between that 4 weeks, if you don't want to be running in and almost sprinting at the end. You want to sprint first and cruise in towards the peak week. So that's peak week. That 4 weeks out, if there's any changes that need to be made, that's when we can make them. Okay, obviously trunks, posing trunks or posing swimsuit, they need to be ordered as well through the prep phase, as well as ordering your tan. That's if your coach is going to tan you, or generally speaking, they will do the federations partner with a tanning company, and they actually run spray tans. They'll have to be booked in, they'll have to be paid for, et cetera, et cetera. So that's all going to come through this prep phase. But let's talk peak week. Peak week is fun. It's very grueling, but at the end of the day, it really is an amazing reality check, I guess, as just to how the nutrition works in the body. And that's why most of this is basically nutrition. Nutritional changes, basically we deplete So you're going to look flat. When I say flat, there's no glycogen stores in the bodies. So basically, you know, the muscles are small. You'll feel weak. You'll feel small. There's no veins. You'll just look like you're 12. Depending on the person, you know, maybe 2 or 3 days out, we carb load. And that's when there's a lot of simple sugars in the body. So again, very little fat. My personal experience, I lived off pretty much Cocoa Pops and protein shakes. So simple sugars straight into the bloodstream, pump up the muscles. Actually, it got better. It was Cocoa Pops and honey with a protein shake. No milk, because there's fats in milk. It was all simple carbohydrates and protein. And you'll see the difference. So that's this one here. This guy on the left. That was our dummy carb load, about 3 or 4 weeks out from peak week. So we piled the body full of carbs, and that's the end result. We basically swell the muscles, swell the veins, and so on. Training changes. Look, there are a few changes into your training. Your coach will program them, so don't go pushing for any PBs or anything. It just simply won't happen. It's all about maintaining whatever muscle you've got. Tanning, again, like we said, that'll have to be done if you're going through one of the companies provided. You have to book them in, and you'll start your tanning through peak week. We did it ourselves. So I think I had 4 coats, 5 coats, 4 or 5 coats of base coat tan. And then on show day, it was a top coat of, I can't even remember the name of it. It basically just gets slapped on. It's like, it's like grease, but comes up a treat though. So keep that in mind. That's through peak week as well. Hair removal is another one. Something you may not think about, but top to bottom, shave, wax, whatever. If you've got hair, it's going to hide the muscle, and we want to show the muscle. That's what it's all about, is showing the muscle and making you look as best we can. Show day. Show day is awesome. Show day is really fun. What you can expect is a lot of sitting around. To be perfectly honest, you do absolutely nothing. Activity level is right down low. You'll see a lot of people laying around backstage, feet up, just so they can keep the blood in the upper body, because that's where a lot of the results come from. You're on your feet for so long, obviously, so the blood flows back down, but we want to keep it up in the upper body. So a lot of sitting down. Food-wise, you're dehydrated. So a lot of rice cakes, a lot of honey, a lot of salt, dry rice, you know, you name it. There's a bit of chicken in there, a bit of protein. Yeah, there's some really bland foods on show day, which is cool. It's usually drowned in salts anyway, so it's quite delicious. Like we said, dehydration. You basically want to, between the muscle and the skin is where you store a lot of your water, or within the skin and the muscle. So you want to dehydrate, you want to look dry, and that's where the vascularity comes in. So you will only have, at most, maybe half a liter of water, you know, that whole day. There's a lot of headaches, a lot of dehydration headaches at the end of the day. But you know, for an amazing physique, it's well worth it. Depending on what time you're on stage as well. A lot of the shows wrap up. I mean, we were off stage just after lunch, 2 o'clock, something like that. And yeah, so as soon as you get off stage, get the water into you. Have some fun. This is what my coach said to me. Have fun. don't worry too much about taking headphones and getting in the zone and all that. Just have fun, have a chat to the athletes. If you're going through as a team, hang out with your team, talk some rubbish, just relax. You'll have so much more fun. You'll appreciate the day so much more. But what's next after show? So if you are competing, a lot of competitors, we're doing it. I've got some friends that have done it. Will compete for the entire season. So within the season, there's usually 2 seasons each year, season A, season B. All the federations will have usually a weekend where they just do their thing. You know, you can also, there's nothing to stop you from competing in more than one federation. Obviously, if you're enhanced, you won't be able to do the naturals. If you're natural, you can obviously do the enhanced ones, but you run the risk of, you know, am I going to be big enough? Because let's face it, there's a lot of gear out there that can get you huge. So with your next comp, if you are going to go down that track and compete week after week after week after week for, you know, 4, 5, 6 weeks, and it can be done. You'll probably find you'll come out leaner the more shows in you get, because you're essentially on a giant peak week or a peak month. It really is an awesome experience just to watch how the body goes from one week to the next. If that's your case, you'll go straight back onto deficits. You'll back into that that peak week, sorry, and just compete again in that next week or next weekend, or whichever your next comp is. Hopefully it's within, you know, a couple of weeks. If it's your last comp for the season, you go out and celebrate, have a treat. We had burgers last time I competed. Do not make the same mistake I did and just gorge. You know, the reverse dieting, this is super important here. It doesn't just stop at show day. A lot of coaches out there will just say, okay, cool, let's just ease back into it, where they don't really give you that much guidance. Where the reverse dieting, it basically takes your calories. You've been in a calorie deficit for so long. That's where the danger happens. Is, you know, you can gain a lot of body fat really, really quickly. Again, chatting to this bikini model today, when she competed, she put on 5 kilos within a week. I think I put on about 6 or 7 within that first week, because it wasn't from eating. There was a couple of dodgy meals, but it wasn't eating a lot. Your stomach just won't handle eating loads and loads and loads. It was just the types of foods. It was just overboard for what I was used to. You know, I would happily, you know, off season, before I got into competing, off season, I would eat a couple of burgers. I would eat, you know, nuggets and chips and chocolate and whatever garbage would be in front of me. You just can't do that in comp season or post competition, I should say. Number one, your stomach won't handle it, and you end up with the biggest pain in the tummy you will ever experience. Reverse dieting, you will also run the risk of putting on huge amounts of body fat, because that's where the body is more susceptible to gaining body fat. You can grow fat cells, but you cannot remove them. Okay, that's where it's the dangerous part. So reverse dieting, it's not just, here's the show, I'm going to go eat garbage for the next 6 months. It doesn't work that way. You need to reverse out of it just to play it safe, because let's face it, this whole process is not, it's not healthy. It's a sport, it's performance. So you get the body fat down to a healthy rate, percentage, awesome. We're taking this to the next level and getting you absolutely peeled. You can see every muscle fiber, every little thing in the body. And from that, well, like, if that is your last comp for the season, look forward to the next season. You know, we go through a progression block. We iron out, you know, the little things that we could do better. The progression is the fun one. That's where the growth happens. You'll lift heavy. You'll be in calorie surpluses, hopefully. That's where we grow the muscle. And with that, I'm going to leave it with that for now. Progression training is awesome. Did we have any questions at all before we wrap this up? I've gone a little bit over. Feel free to throw them up in the chat, or I've got Facebook open in front of me. If you have any questions, please feel free to sing out now. Otherwise, you can always send me a private message, Facebook, Instagram, whichever. Nope, no questions just yet. Awesome. Cool. Well, like we said, if you have any further questions, by all means, feel free to get in touch. I'm going to plug the business one last time. We'll be taking a team through next year. If you're watching this on a repeat, we're currently in 2021. We'll be taking a team for 2022, both season A and B, hopefully. Fingers crossed. So if you're keen, get in touch and we will make this happen. Otherwise, guys, thank you so much for spending your evening with me, or morning, or whenever you're watching this, if you're watching it on a repeat. We look forward to seeing you up on stage very soon.